break, and it is our great pleasure to welcome now the president of NowMedia, who is the host, the real host of this entire setup, and the person who invented the show, Juan de Guevara Torres. And we just wanted to bring closer to the public the work he is doing and the idea he had behind the scenes when he suggested that we, Mac and I, could do this show under the name Legal Talk with Natalia and Mac. Juan?
Natalia, Mac, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm happy to be part of your show.
Yeah, Juan, good to have you. So you were the one who reached out to me some months back and introduced me into your great company. And so now it's our pride to be participating with you in something even deeper with Legal Talk. So Juan, can you give us just a very brief introduction to NowMedia for people who might not be familiar with the brand?
Well, NowMedia is the first bilingual television and radio network in the United States. We are building what we believe is the future of television, NowMedia and radio. NowMedia, it's multicasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, over the air on television, over the air on radio, Fast TV, which is Roku television, Apple, YouTube Live, cable companies, as well as streaming and on demand. The idea of NowMedia is to become the go-to media network for all business owners, bilingual business owners, English and Spanish, because we believe that is the future. And the NowMedia programming is designed to give the business owner the tactical knowledge to be able to become better business owners. So our programming includes news that we bring in collaboration or in partnership with our partner in Mexico. Geraldo Media Group is a 250 million pound gorilla, which is one of the most important Latin American media companies. We are the brand that is bringing them into the United States. So our news comes from Mexico, dedicated specifically for the business owner. We have financial shows. We have anything that the business owner needs. And on the NowMedia side, our programming is, again, designed for the business owner. So we believe that this is the content for people that are interested in investing, becoming a better entrepreneur, and they need to know about three things and three things only. What is important in the news, what is important in the news, what is important on the financial world, what is important on the specifics on how to become an entrepreneur, and that's what we're trying to broadcast here in NowMedia, in Spanish and English.
And being the chief of NowMedia, but also being an entrepreneur yourself, you know it so well how important the legal side of all the business is. Can you tell us a little bit what your expectations of this show are, the Legal Talk?
It's my belief that the people that are doing business in the United States need three things and three things only. You need a very good CPA, you need a very good doctor, and you need a very good attorney. If you have good attorneys, if you have good CPAs, and you have a good doctor, you can probably navigate through the challenges of being an entrepreneur. The idea behind Legal Talk is to present the business owners practical cases on what to do to avoid litigation. Litigation in the United States, as it is in most countries, is a very expensive process where not necessarily what is true matters. What is important is what you can prove and what you can't prove. And anybody who has been doing business in the United States, in my case, over 25 years, we've sued people, we've been sued, we mediate, we've been deposed, we depose people. You've gone through the painful process of discovery. All that is something that, as a business owner, your company will face one way or the other. It's just a matter of time. And it is important for the business owners to understand how to react to these people. And that's why you guys that are the experts in mediations, you guys are attorneys, we wanted to partner with you guys to bring to the entrepreneur the specific tactical knowledge to not only understand what litigation is all about, but also to avoid litigation as much as possible, to be able to navigate legal issues with ease, and to prevent legal issues when possible.
Absolutely. It saves people a whole lot of time and money. And I know in your heart, you love the idea of conflict resolution. That's something that we had been doing quite a lot of episodes about in the past. So when I first met you, you went through 3 big points, and that was that NowMedia stands for business, news, and technology.
That's
technology,
correct.
Always captured my heart because it's something that I love and definitely interested in. So could you go a little bit deeper into why these are the 3 focus areas of NowMedia?
Well, the news, you need to be aware of what's going on in your surroundings. You need to understand what the environment and how the environment is affecting your business. We just heard today that the Fed increased again the interest rate. So that's going to affect banks. That's going to affect credit lines for business owner. That's going to affect mortgages. That's going to affect pretty much the way and the cost of borrowing money. So that affects every business and every business entrepreneur. I mean, obviously. So news are important component of understanding the environment to be able to predict risks to your company or your companies. That's number 1. Number 2, technology. Technology is changing the way we do business. We now are understanding the implications of artificial intelligence, how, for example, IBM started to let people go because they're going to try to minimize their workforce, because now AI can do a lot of the mechanical things or the monotonous things, that employees were paid to do. So we're starting to see already, on the dawn of artificial intelligence, how technology is changing the way we do business. That's why we have to keep an eye on what the technology is and what is going on regarding technology. And obviously, the third point, it's important for us, which I'm sure, Mac, would you know what was the third point?
Business, news, and technology.
Right, correct. And when we talk about business, we talk about the tactical knowledge. We believe that shows like this one, who is in a way coaching people to become better entrepreneurs, are very important, because for those who have done an MBA, they know that really the value of a master's in business administration is 2 things. 1, the people that you connect through the MBA programs, but 2, the practical cases, the practicality of an MBA. When you're getting your bachelor's degree, when you're going to college only and you get your degree, you learn a lot of stuff, and some of them you will apply to your business life, and most of it you won't. But when you get into the practical, when you get into the trenches, into the weeds of the matter, then you understand that having practical knowledge, having a street knowledge of what business is all about, it's very important. So what we're trying to do in NowMedia is to provide specific shows that are able to be always evergreen, that are able to teach the entrepreneur the important aspects, to give them the tactical knowledge they need to be able to be better entrepreneurs and to be able to avoid the cost of education. We will get educated one way or the other. Either you get educated in school, which is expensive, or you get educated in life, which is also very expensive. So what we're trying to do, quite frankly, is to bring tactical knowledge, practical knowledge to entrepreneurs so they understand what they can pursue, how can they seize opportunities, and in this case, how to use legal resources to navigate through legal challenges with ease.
And Juan, you are truly bilingual, so you are a perfect example of linking these 2 worlds, the English-speaking world, the Spanish-speaking world, and how it can intersect and interact with each other, which is a lovely thing. You have given also me the chance, where I am not a native English speaker, and I'm doing my best to speak it, but on top, I'm also a lawyer of a different background, and I see this bridging activity of yours very much in it, and this is also how we would want to contribute to the show and to NowMedia, bringing this international perspective to it as well. However, being on the legal show and hoping that it is not only everyday people who will be watching us and businessmen, but also lawyers, I would want to ask you specifically, Juan, what sort of offer do you have for lawyers? Because you have done a lot. How can you help lawyers if they want to show to the world who they are, what they do?
Well, lawyers need to understand that Legal Talk it's a new forum where they can come and contribute. There are multiple types of lawyers. I mean, what are the most important law that it's practiced or it's needed rather in a business setting? Well, you need obviously intellectual property. I think that's very important. You need to make sure that you have all your I's and your T's crossed when you're having an employee manual, when you're protecting your intellectual property, but you're making sure that your employees are properly papered up, where there are non-disclosure agreements and non-compete agreements, where your knowledge and your know-how is not be transferred to your competitor, or you're not creating employees that become your competitors down the line. That requires papered up. That requires a contract. Obviously, personal injury. It's very important for those people that are in construction, those people that are operating heavy machinery, the companies like that. They need to make sure that they're protected legally against errors and omissions or physical injury. That's an important thing. If you're in the financial world or you're a healthcare provider, you need to be making sure that all of your paperwork is protecting your company, because in this country, anybody can get sued for anything. So again, the idea of Legal Talk is to touch on these issues and how somebody who is proactive and has the paper trail or the correct paperwork and the correct contracts can avoid a lot of headaches. So obviously, legal practitioners, attorneys, paralegals, mediators, arbitrators are welcome to Legal Talk to give us the perspective of what a business entrepreneur needs to understand to be able to be prepared for not only to avoid litigation, but also to make sure that when there is inevitable litigation, their exposure is minimal.
All right. So, Juan, if people want to get in contact with NowMedia, what's the best way for them to reach out to you, especially if they want to get on TV?
Well, NowMedia is always open for people that want to contribute. So the best way to reach NowMedia is obviously through the website, nowmedia.tv. Our phone lines are open, always 832-384-9588. We have a special hotline where we receive these phones in the newsroom where people want to contribute or anything. Or if they want to reach me personally, they can do it at one@nowmedia.tv. I'm always interested in listening to what people has to say. And the idea here is to make sure that people understand the importance of getting things done. And NowMedia, it's a network that will evaluate and bring the best of the best, but is certainly open to any and all voices.
Thank you so much for that, Juan. And let's hope we can catch up soon again. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the invitation, folks.
According to the FBI, a robbery occurs every 13 seconds. Homes and businesses without a reliable security system are 300% more likely to be burglarized. Alert 360 provides custom-tailored rock-solid security solutions to residential and commercial customers. Whether it's home security, fire and carbon monoxide detection, flood protection, connected senior care, managed video surveillance solutions, 24/7 alarm monitoring, and life safety, Alert 360 is your ideal solution. In addition, Alert 360 has smart home and business integrations like access control and video shield for a complete peace of mind, protecting what matters the most and reducing energy costs with our top-of-the-line automatic scheduling functions. Alert 360 offers security services discounts to military personnel, veterans, first responders, educators, and hospital personnel. Don't be a victim. Take a strong step today. Call Rosana Torres at 832-863-8574 for your free consultation.
Hey, Lily says AT&T is giving everyone their best deals.
Minus the air quotes.
Best deals.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Told you, the best deals are for everyone here, with a choice of plans.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
At AT&T, we give everyone our best deals on every smartphone.
Are you ready to talk about all things real estate? Hi, I'm Michelle Briggs, the host of Your Person Real Estate. Join me every Thursday at 5 p.m. and discover everything you should know about the real estate world.
Hey everyone, welcome back. So we're moving on to our next segment where we're talking about technology and the law. And so everyone's been talking, Natalia, so much about ChatGPT and all of the other AI-generated type of technologies that I've just been producing across social media, discussed on YouTube and Twitter. And so we wanted to just take a little bit of a moment to just dive into it a little bit and talk in terms of the legal consequences of all of this and where things might go and what we think the future holds when it comes to this discussion. So most people act like they know what ChatGPT is and other types of artificial intelligent tools that can mimic human behavior, seem to anyway, or that act like they can produce discussions and art and things that we would only ascribe to humans in the past. But basically, even though people think that they know about this, the truth of the matter is most of us don't understand it. But what we do know is that every single one of these artificial intelligence tools has a human coder ultimately as a source to produce it. And so we have to deal with the ethical considerations and the legal implications. However, we have to go back to remember that it's humans who's setting this. And so what's your take on this whole new phenomenon that we're experiencing?
I am actually quite happy to say that I have been following a lot of the things that are happening and a little surprised, if not stunned, how quickly it takes over. Because to just people on the street or laymen, you can imagine yourself ChatGPT not as a sitting robot who is serving you. It is actually like a, let's say, Google quote unquote search engine. But this time you are not just searching for music or for words. You are searching for complete solutions. That can be legal analysis. That can be instances where, which I heard that was probably in Germany, I don't recall well, but a student of IT was able to cancel her parking ticket by using ChatGPT and entering the actual coding way of how this was ascribed to her electronically. So basically what we need to know how it can impact legal profession. It can impact definitely the legislator, so we need to await certain legal solutions on that. It will impact legal education as AI can lead you through the process of learning, correct your mistakes, set up individual programs. it will be a part of exercising legal profession, and there are voices already that say there is a threat that some paralegals or people who do more technical jobs can even lose their jobs because AI can do it better. Or, and this is the topic that we are particularly interested in, there are voices that say that AI can be helpful in serving justice. How?
So yes, ChatGPT and other types of AI can administer justice and can serve justice. Many people are a little scared. I know in Canada, for example, they have a lot of projects going in at some of these universities about this kind of stuff. And a lot of ethicists and philosophers have talked about whether or not it's proper to give this kind of power basically to machines. Most of the data I've seen, focuses more on data mining and looking at whether or not a machine can look at past decisions and then regurgitate a potential future solution for a problem that exists today. So, for example, if you're going to be getting a speeding ticket and you're going to be in front of a machine that's going to determine whether or not you should be punished a certain way, it'll simply look in the past at all the other rulings that have been done in similar cases and issue out a verdict. That's the idea behind whether or not this will work and whether it's a good idea. Now, Natalia, in the U.S., I'm not sure if you're too familiar with it from Europe, but we in the Terminator series, we have this idea of Skynet. Skynet is where all the robots kind of take over and become self-aware and start making decisions to attack humanity. I know it's science fiction. However, this is the kind of stuff that freaks people out, where they start thinking, when we start giving power and decision-making into machines, where does it stop? And at what point might the machine be able to take over? Or you have some nefarious actor like a dictator wanting to use this kind of power to hurt people. These are some really big questions. But we can only speculate. We just don't want to speculate to our own demise.
And when we also think and at this stage fantasize about the role of AI in the judicial systems, we can also imagine that jury can help it, can be either potentially even replaced by AI, because the same question that is being asked to the jury can be asked to the systems, as Mark was saying, who can search through billions of different situations all over the world. And how it can also be done, some of the judicial documents can be pre-assigned by artificial intelligence and therefore, let's say, be helpful when administering justice. But I think that still it gives us so much fear, and we don't realize how much these systems are already in use. Let me give you one simple example. In online trading, like when you are doing online shopping, a lot of transactions, if you fall into trouble, will be governed by a system that will be an artificial intelligence. But that means that by asking questions to you, what happened, what was the amount you paid, what was the transaction, who was the other party, this artificial intelligence will give you some sort of a judgment on how to proceed further.
Yes, so as long as, and by the way, this seems like it could be a good thing, right? It could be very helpful. But as long as we have some human referees on the side, I think I'm okay with it. I'm all about data mining and with consent, of course, and using data to help humanity, to help people. What we want, and as long as the data is anonymous, of course, what we want is to have the ultimate say be in the hands of trusted human actors to actually participate. Now, the contra to that could be somebody could say, well, humans are biased and machines are not. But ultimately, machines can be biased by the coder who's behind it all. So what are some other ways that this can be helpful? So we don't want to be too much of doomsayers and doomsday sayers and think that this is just a negative thing. There's lots of benefits. Not only will this save people time, but in a world where we have 7-8 billion people, and human beings commit crimes, we need all the help we can get to administer justice. We need systems to be put in place to speed procedures up so that we don't have backlogs in courts by the millions of cases. And so I'm all about technology being used, using artificial intelligence to try to sift through things and figure out how to best assess and move cases through the system without having too much delay.
And I'm trying to answer another concern that people are bringing, meaning other human beings losing their jobs, which is again a legal issue because that may affect, first of all, the legal market, but second also the employment law, how it will be shaped for the future, how it will protect human beings against machines or software that will be coming into place to take their jobs. And I have been reading a lot of research on that, and surprise, surprise, the predictions are that somewhat interesting qualities might be suddenly very much looked for and searched for by the employers. This will be qualities that are actually human qualities. So all the jobs and all the professions where empathy is required, where human touch is required, meaning massage, for example, it's really hard to imagine that these sort of places would be replaced by machines or software.
Oh, you'd be surprised, though. That's the thing about a lot of this. We don't know really what the future holds. And I think just like in the past, when new technologies came in, people were scared to a degree because they were afraid that their job is going to go away because of the fact that certain procedures could be automated. But we were surprised. You know, the circuit was created. All of a sudden, we were able to do so much more and use less manpower. It saves us time, and we could produce more food and produce more energy as societies. So the fact of the matter is we don't know what the future holds. We just know that we need to keep an eye on this and be careful with it. Don't want to run with it and be too naive to think that things can't go wrong. Again, Skynet. But we also don't want to be too shy away from trying to use these tools. So anyway, my takeaway personally, I'm all about using kind We just need to be on the lookout in case things go wrong, and we need good ethicists and good philosophers to kind of lead the way.
And good news for lawyers, whenever there is something that is uncertain, there will be big disputes that will be in place, humans against artificial intelligence, and that be it on the field of the labor law, be it on the field of business, where someone will be eliminated from a certain area or branch and was not protected. Just let us all be cautious and see, and maybe for some lawyers there will be opportunities in that as well.
All right, guys, we'll be back until the next segment. Take care.
¿Quieres que tu negocio crezca y todo parece indicar que el camino es Estados Unidos? Te dijeron que abras una LLC para que no pagues impuestos, mas no tienes idea de cómo hacerlo. Soy Edmundo Treviño y quiero compartir contigo más de 20 años como empresario en Estados Unidos para que tú no te equivoques en los mismos errores que yo ya realicé. Sígueme en todas las redes sociales para que juntos conquistemos el mercado americano.
Hey, Lily says AT&T's giving everyone their best deals.
Minus the air quotes.
Best deals.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Told you, the best deals are for everyone here, with a choice of plans.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
At AT&T, we give everyone our best deals on every smartphone.
Le invita a su servidor Javier Solórzano a que todas las noches en Heraldo Televisión esté con nosotros entre las 21 horas y las 22 horas del centro en Referente. Estamos informando tratando de que usted tenga todas las piezas de este rompecabezas informativo cotidiano a través de Referente. Lo esperamos. Heraldo Televisión, Referente, 21 a 22 horas. Javier Solórzano.
Hello and welcome after the break. It is our pleasure again to have our guest and friend Brett Lovett with information about how to create safe workplace. And Brett, it's lovely to have you with us again. Can you say a few words about yourself at first? What gives you the authority to talk about things like safe workplace to our viewers?
Thank you. I appreciate being here. So I've been in the training arena in sexual harassment, in bullying, prevention, compliance training for almost 15 years now. So I have a background as a mediator, so I have dispute resolution, conflict management skills that I applied to this. I tutored under someone for 3 or 4 years, a mentor, so I co-trained, essentially learning on the job at the same time. And then after I met some standards set forth by the California Business and Professions Code, then I was able to venture out on my own, so to speak, and have been doing it ever since.
So Brett, go into it. How do we make sure that a workplace is a safe place? You've talked to us about bullying generally for many, many months now. You started off with us on the LMI podcast. And so now we wanted you just to give you the floor and tell us, how do you avoid bullying in the workplace? What can management do about it? And how do you promote a safe workplace environment?
Yeah, so how do you avoid bullying in the workplace? Is it okay if I start with maybe a kind of a definitional difference between what would be the legal term is hostile work environment. That's the legal term. But what is the difference between that and bullying? So maybe I'd like to start there. So as an individual, for an example, you could be intimidating somebody and not know that you're intimidating them. Perhaps you're raising your voice as you talk to somebody, but you don't raise your voice to others, and other people know that. For whatever reason, you may be unaware that you're doing that. So if you were intimidating in such a way, but weren't aware that you were doing that, that would be, under the legal definition, creating a hostile work environment. If we take that same example and we say that the person intimidating absolutely knows that they're intimidating and they're doing so on purpose, well, now that brings in malice. That brings in intent, and that's what takes it from hostile work environment and defines it as bullying. So you could take intimidation, and intimidation could be just harassment, or it could be bullying. The difference is malice and intent.
And knowing that, Brett, that would be good if you tell us from your practice what little things, little steps can employers take in their work environment, in their business environment, to ensure that their place is a safe workplace.
So thank you for asking that. Number one, it's all about prevention, I would think. And we hear that a lot, prevention this, prevention that, but it really is about prevention. The only way I can illustrate it is if you do nothing, then you can expect something. It's probably going to be negative, but if you're proactive about helping your workforce understand what is appropriate behavior in the workplace, what is appropriate conduct in the workplace, if you take the initiative as an organization and you're proactive about investing this type of training and learning and development in your workforce, there's going to be a return on investment on that. The return on investment is you're going to have a workforce that's more cohesive, a workforce that looks out for one another, a workforce that doesn't look to hurt one another or try to get ahead, but is actually a team like a family. I tell people outside, where do you spend most of your time outside of home? You spend it in the workplace. So really, isn't the workplace, in a sense, an extension of a person's family? Would we do this to our mother, to our father, to our brother, to our sister? And if the issue does arise, don't we move quickly to address it? Why would it be any different in the workplace? So I use that analogy when I'm helping organizations see this is a serious matter, and we want to be proactive. We want to protect the good culture that we have in an organization. You can't do that by being passive. You have to do that by being proactive, especially educationally.
You said especially educationally?
Yes. Providing educationally is what I mean is that the organization needs to provide the learning and the development for its workforce.
Yes, no, definitely. And Brad, some time ago we had you in a podcast and you were discussing bullying, not just in the workplace setting, but also in schools. When you said the word educationally, it triggered my mind to go there as well. Could you speak just a little bit about that? Because in many ways, the school place is the workplace of the future. Okay, so we raise our children and our society to go to school every day and learn how to interact with other people. But that never quite changes, right? When people grow up and they move on to the work environment. It's the same kind of thing. In fact, we bring a lot of the same antics from middle school and high school into the work environment. It's just sometimes a lot more dangerous, or there are bigger consequences because we're grown adults. But could you compare the two? Could you explain to us how bullying exists in the school place as well? And maybe in your experience, how you've seen some of the bullying in the school environment carry over to the work environment?
Yeah, good. Thank you for drawing in the the school systems or the educational system of this. These things don't start in the workplace, as you just mentioned, Mac. And guess what? They don't start at school either. They start in the home.
Yeah.
That's where these behaviors are developed, whether intentionally or unintentionally, because of our environment. So, imagine if a child is subjected to an environment of bullying in the home. They may not like it. They may be turned off by it, but they may inherently, just by association, develop these traits and not even realize that they are. Then those traits can be taken into the classroom, into the school setting, and then if they're never addressed in an appropriate way, well, of course, they're going to take it out of the school setting into the workplace. So it has to be recognized. The individual has to be, they have to recognize, wow, there's some behaviors and traits here that I've developed or picked up, either intentionally or unintentionally, that are not serving me or others very well. And that recognition is really where it starts. And I would encourage anybody to, we're talking about self-assessment here. You can't go through life always waiting for other people to point things out to us. Sometimes we have to take some ownership and we have to self-assess. How's my environment? What have I learned from the environment that I'm in? And how does that affect how I engage with people in school or at work or at home? So it's a serious topic. It's not something that can be addressed overnight. But I'm telling you, it starts in the home and it carries over into the school place and into the educational area. And if we don't address it as adults, if we don't see it in children and give them the resources or the ability to cope and deal with this and to overcome it, not just to cope and deal, but to overcome it, well, then you're just going to carry the same broken chain all the way through into the workplace. And then that same cycle will just repeat itself as that person grows and starts their own family. They'll just generally, they will just repeat that same cycle. It's very difficult to break if you never take the time to recognize it.
And Brett, I hear what you say, and I absolutely know what you mean, being the mediator, doing family law, doing also labor law. But to those who are still not entirely encouraged to understand and to do better, if someone would ask you a question, but Brett, you are making it all work the way that everywhere there is some threat, everywhere there is a person who can be trying to intimidate me or bully me. If I teach my employees that, they're going to we are going to have the reverse effect. They will be coming to me and everybody will be seeing bullying and harassment and intimidation everywhere. What would you say to that question or to that reservation that entrepreneurs might ask?
That's a good question, and it's one that I address in the trainings whenever I'm delivering them, and whenever we get to this section of bowling. I even bring it up in the general program session as well. And here's what I say: I'm not creating. I don't want to create an environment where people feel that they need to walk on eggshells about everything that they say, about everything that they do. That's not the point that I want to have driven home. The point I want to have driven home is that we need to think, we need to develop the skill set, and this is a skill set, it's not inherent. We need to develop the skill set of thinking before we act and thinking before we speak. Even in a split-second moment, in one safety check valve, you might call it, that I give groups when I'm speaking to them is before you say something to somebody that you may think is funny, maybe it's an off-color joke, could be a racial joke, it could be something to do with gender. It doesn't matter what it is. We may think it's funny. It may be we may have heard it last night in our home. But what you have to realize is conduct at home does not always directly translate into conduct in the workplace. You can't just say, this is how I am, this is who I am, so deal with it. Or this is how I grew up, or this is okay. See, that's not dealing with people from a principled point of view. That's dealing with people legalistically, okay? Meaning you can't do anything to me until I break the law, until I cross the line. And what I tell organizations is that's a dangerous way to live and a dangerous way to work. What I want you to think about is dealing with people and engaging with people from a principled point of view, such as respect. What is respect? We've talked about it before with you too. Respect is doing what is in the best interest of others ahead of ourselves. So we may not be breaking the law when we tell this off-color joke. We may not be breaking the law when we talk about this gender issue. But are we showing respect? Are we doing what's in the best interest of others? So that's where I try to take the group. I'm not asking you to walk on eggshells. I'm just saying, is this something that I would tell my mother? Is this something that I would feel comfortable telling my father or my brother or my sister? Is this something I would comfortably do to my mother or do to my father or my brother or my sister? That's how I want people to think. And that's what I mean by drawing attention, doing it, and self-assessing and take it very seriously, not to walk on eggshells, but to consider and self-assess our conduct before we do and say things in the workplace.
All right, Brad, so if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way and where should they follow you?
Harassmentcompliancetraining.com. We have our 800 number there, 800-951-8289. You can call us. We have a form, a simple form on our website if you want to reach out to us through email. So you can email us, you can call us. We're happy to talk to anybody who's interested in themselves learning how to, what is appropriate and maybe not appropriate behavior or conduct in the workplace. And anybody who wants to educate themselves and or their workforce in this. That's why we're here. And we take that very seriously.
Okay. So, Brett, thank you so much for stopping by again and for the insightful talk on bullying this time. And if people out there are wanting to learn more, check out Brett, but also check out the other episodes that we've done, not just on NowMedia TV, on Legal Talk, but also on the LMI podcast, where Brett has been a frequent guest and he's given a lot of really good, meaty tips on how to make sure that your workplace stays compliant when it comes to sexual harassment, bullying in the workplace, and not having a hostile workplace environment. All right, everybody, that's it for now in this segment. Thanks so much.
Bienvenidos a Interior Bar Houston, el bar más vibrante de Downtown en la ciudad de Houston. En Interior, la fiesta nunca para. Nuestro DJ de clase mundial te mantendrá bailando toda la noche con la mejor música de hoy y de siempre. Además, aquí encontrarás las mejores bebidas y cócteles. En Interior, nuestro ambiente electrizante y nuestro equipo amigable te asegurarán una noche que nunca olvidarás. Te esperamos de 9:30 a 2 de la mañana. Interior, donde la diversión nunca se detiene.
Informativo veraz y oportuno llega a los Estados Unidos. Zona de noticias, sábados y domingos de 2 a 4 de la tarde con Manuel Zamacona. Solo por NowMedia Televisión, en una coproducción con Heraldo Media Group.
¿Sueñas con vender tus productos o servicios en Estados Unidos? Pareciera muy difícil, mas no es imposible. Soy Edmundo Treviño y quiero compartir contigo más de 20 años de experiencia promoviendo productos latinoamericanos en el principal mercado del mundo. Si quieres aprender más, sígueme en todas mis redes sociales.
Hey, Lily says AT&T is giving everyone their best deals.
Minus the air quotes.
Best deals.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Told you, the best deals are for everyone here, with a choice of plans.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
At AT&T, we give everyone our best deals on every smartphone.
Hey, thanks for joining us again, everybody. This is Legal Talk with Natalia and Mac. I'm Mac Pierre-Louis, attorney, mediator, arbitrator. I work throughout the states of Florida and Texas.
And I am Natalia Ołowska-Czajka, advocate, which is attorney, mediator and arbitrator from Warsaw, Poland, but I am also Florida Supreme Court certified family mediator.
So Natalia and I are always about bringing the goods when it comes to tips and information that might help business owners and everyday people out there. And so this, again, is a continuation from the work we had done for years on the LMI podcast to now we're taking it mainstream to lots of different cities around the world, really. And so in today's talk, Natalia, we wanted to touch a little bit about social media. Again, this is Legal Talk, so therefore we're going to talk about social media in the context of legal problems. And so the main issue is do's and don'ts on social media while you're involved in litigation. As we know, Natalia, social media has taken over all our lives. And so why this was a topic that you actually wanted to talk about initially, right? So can you first tell us, why did you want us to discuss this?
During the legal work and especially the court work, we can see so many instances where people fail in their legal disputes because of what they did on social media. So this is just incredible how people lose their cautiousness. And for example, in a family law dispute, you're, let's say, in the middle of a heated divorce, but you're already publishing on Facebook the photos with your new boo, having a lovely time in Florida, or people who are actually trying to impress others, showing their lovely newly acquired automobiles or houses where there is a pending child support dispute, which perfectly shows their level of living. So for anybody, entrepreneurs, but also other people, the consistency between how you show yourself in the social media and what you then say in the court is extremely important.
So that's really the first tip, right? Like not revealing too much information on social media. But this is a human drive. We're always trying to blah, 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 brag about ourselves on social media. And some people just can't help it. That's what I've discovered. So I guess tip number one, don't reveal too much when you're in the middle of a case, whether it's a custody case in a divorce or in a family law dispute or a civil dispute that involves litigants fighting over anything, whether it's a car or your neighbor's tree going on your lawn. Publishing things on social media is literally putting things out there in the public square in a way that people are going to take and twist and people might misunderstand. But it's just human nature to want to do it. So fight the temptation. You don't have to share everything that comes to your mind. So that's one important thing to try to avoid. And Natalia, would you agree with me that you hardly ever see anything good come from people blasting things on social media? I don't understand why people do it.
Practically, yes. Although I think that a lot of people are tempted to just feed their egos with likes on different social media. I think that this temptation really needs to be fought in this very instance and this is the procedural tip. All this sort of social media evidence, when printed out or when being brought on any data base like a stick, can be admitted as evidence in the courts. We're not giving anybody any legal advice, which is worth stressing out. However, just to know that anything you write can become a tool, or anything you post in terms of lovely photos can become a tool that will be used against you. And please note something. I have had many cases where people were printing out your information that you publish about yourself on LinkedIn. So you do that in good faith because you're looking for a new job, but then you happen to be a part of a legal dispute. And in this legal dispute, people are simply showing, oh, so you are this and this, and you work in this. And for example, for child support, your earning capacities increase when you have had numerous qualifications and work in numerous professions. Let me give you one example. I had a guy who actually was a car salesman, but he published that he did some sort of scuba diving course. I don't know what for, it was on LinkedIn, but then the other party was claiming that he can earn his money out of teaching people scuba diving.
Yeah, so just be careful what you put on there, especially about income that you might have, but you go to court and say you don't have it, where your lifestyle might be showed up very differently in social media. So when people are in litigation, a lot of times they may deal with something we call discovery. And discovery, basically, for those who might not know, is the formal process through which litigants on either side of a lawsuit are able to obtain information, especially information from the other side, because a lot of times the evidence that you need to put on a trial is in the other side's hands. And so in discovery, one of the things that can come up is trying to discover social media information. I've had cases where we are literally asking our opponents to provide us with their social media usernames, with social media access, so that we can try to get the information ourselves from the social media companies. And so if anybody knows anything, there's a big social media company out there called Twitter, where people seem to want to post anything that comes out of their mouths. And again, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I'm only 40-something years old, so maybe this is just the natural evolution of, human beings when it comes to being public with each other, but just doesn't help. So just keep that in mind, guys. Make sure you pull back. Don't publish everything, because discovery can bite you in the butt big time if you're not careful with how that tool can be used.
Another tip, which is also important, when you are already in the court dispute, please remember that the information that is happening there is not really to be published on social media. That means the court pleadings, the court decisions, the orders, or in particular, the recordings from the court proceedings. Sometimes the temptation exists, but that can be very, very detrimental to you, as in many jurisdictions it is prohibited to record things for yourself in the courtroom or to use court recordings for the purposes that they were not designed for.
So most of the time, people do have First Amendment rights, of course, so that's a good thing. And the government or the judges can't just prevent you from posting what you want on social media. I've had a case where I was trying to tell a judge to prevent somebody from posting certain things. But the judge, I remember her reaction. She was like, isn't that a violation of their First Amendment right to freedom of speech? So the government's not going to step in. However, to protect kids, they can, and so we might have certain precautions where a parent might be told, for example, not to put certain things onto social media that might be public and show up to a kid one day, or that a child might see that disparages another parent. That's one example, right, where the government, where the court or the judge might have an exception to invoke their power. But generally speaking, we don't want people to be publishing things about an ongoing court case.
And generally speaking, I would also say that absolutely any spyware on the other party is not a good thing when you are having any court proceedings. I have had so many people explaining how they legally got possession of the passwords to their spouses or even business partners' accounts. But it is easily to be proved that someone is not trustworthy and is not telling the truth, because it can be traced back with many technological instruments to prove the real source, how you got possession of somebody's coordinates to log into their social media accounts or to log into their email. So absolutely refrain from that. That can be very hardly hitting you, and no.
So imagine being in litigation, being in the middle of a case, but your social media account is compromised where somebody else has access to your account. So it's not just spyware, but it's also when somebody else has access to your account that you might have given them legitimately without even realizing it. And imagine that somebody hacks that account and is able to then post things about you, or presumably looking like it's by you, but about somebody else, or maybe even about the judge, right? Imagine the damage that could do to you. So this is just one big tip for life, all right? Secure your social media accounts, please. You don't need multiple people having access. We've seen politicians get in trouble where somebody else decides to publish something done under their name to the public, where in actuality it wasn't the politician, but it was somebody on their staff, like an intern. So that's been a concern. Make sure that you protect your account.
Which then follows is that I have had numerous cases when my client was coming to me, giving me evidence of the other party that they are going to use. And my then first tip to everybody is, please, when you are entering a legal dispute, change your passwords or even set up a special email to contact your lawyer so that nobody else can have access to that and they do not compromise your evidence beforehand.
All right, everybody, we're running out of time, but this has been Legal Talk with Natalia and Mac. And so we hope that these tips today on do's and don'ts of social media during a litigation case has been helpful to you. So make sure you follow us, alaskapier.com. Make sure you watch all of these shows on NowMedia TV, and make sure that you check out Twitter and YouTube at LMI Podcast. Until next time.
See you next time.
This has been a NowMedia television feature presentation. All rights reserved.
¿Eres licenciado, ingeniero, abogado o enfermero? ¿Biólogo, agrónomo, veterinario o contador? ¿Administrador, mercadólogo o economista? ¿Te gustaría tener una oportunidad para trabajar de manera remota para empresas estadounidenses o incluso emigrar? En The US Marketer estamos buscando oportunidades para mexicanos con estas carreras. Si quieres aprender más, visita nuestra página para más información.
Hey, this is Michael Rager, the host of Biz Talk TV with Michael Rager. Make sure you join us every day, 5 p.m. Central Time on all NowMedia channels and social media platforms.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de NowMedia es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con toda su información de contacto, los productos y servicios de su negocio y puede ser enviado de manera rápida utilizando su teléfono móvil. Cientos de negocios ya están viendo la diferencia. Llámenos hoy al 832-384-9588.
¿Quieres que tu negocio crezca y todo parece indicar que el camino es Estados Unidos? Te dijeron que abras una LLC para que no pagues impuestos, mas no tienes idea de cómo hacerlo. Soy Edmundo Treviño y quiero